All right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We will call the council meeting to order. Everybody stand for the pledge, please.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, take the roll.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Wakefield.
Here.
Knutson.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Ruck.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
All right, I gotta get my, Okay, first thing up is comments or suggestions from citizens present. This is your opportunity to talk about any issue that might be before the city except for what's on the agenda tonight. If you do have a comment, please step forward to the microphone and identify yourself and your address. Try to keep your comments brief. Try not to repeat other people's comments. I think that's it, right? Was there one more? All right, so does anybody have a comment? Any comment? Any comment? Any comment? Hearing none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. We have a public hearing on ordinance 6-25 for proposed amendments to municipal code chapters 225 for smoke shops and chapter 255 zoning and table of permitted uses. All right, so this is a public hearing. It is your opportunity to speak on this issue. I believe, do we have anybody on Zoom?
No.
No? Okay, Zoom is up. If anybody has a chance to comment that way too, just let me know. So does anybody have a comment? Any comment? Any comment? Any comment?
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing is closed. Ordinance 6-25, proposed amendments to the municipal code chapters 225 smoke shops and chapter 255 zoning and table of permitted uses. Mike?
Are you sure, Ben?
That's all you.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So obviously, this is two amendments to the ordinance is, one under 255, and that is to clear up the definitions. We don't have a definition, it's for smoke shops, for cannabinoids. Sure, cannabinoids. That's why I brought Jeff, I have zero idea, right. And we don't have a listing in the table of our permitted uses. So Plan Commission did take a quick look at this. We're only requesting first reading of this ordinance tonight. And then Plan Commission will forward on a recommendation after its meeting tomorrow night, if that makes any sense. And then for 225, Jeff, that's you. Same thing, definition update.
Yeah, essentially, it's just adding that language, the cannabinoid language, to the smoke shop definition so that they can be all under the same umbrella. Right now, there's no regulation for the THC cannabinoid type businesses that want to open up here. We don't have any way to regulate them, but through the smoke shop ordinance. So that's why we're trying to tie them to the smoke shop
And it
ordinance.
always seems to be an ever-evolving thing over the last several years, so we're just trying to stay on top of it.
Did we cover everything?
And this is consistent with state law?
What part?
Well, the changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the issue we ran into previously was that we were focused on tobacco, right? And so we have, I'm sure you've noticed around the community, we've had a number of shops that have opened that sell all sorts of different products. And so we wanted to make sure that our ordinance adequately addressed all of the various different products that are being sold by these stores, so that we're both providing the clerk's office with an opportunity on the licensing side and the zoning side, and we're also supporting law enforcement in terms of the definitions and ensuring that we're properly describing the types of products that are being sold.
Move for first reading of ordinance 6-25.
Second.
Suspend the rules first.
No, we don't need to suspend the
Do a
rules.
First reading.
Good.
Well, okay, I mean, it is first reading.
Yep.
Well, whatever, I'm just, for the record.
All right. Motion and a second? All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing for ordinance 3-25 to rezone 777 Carmichael Road from AR Agricultural Residential to B2 General Business Faith Community Church. Once again, this is a public hearing. It's your opportunity to speak on this issue if you have any comments. Again, try to keep them brief. Try not to repeat other people's comments. Does anybody have a comment? Any comment? Any comment? Any comment?
Move to close the public hearing.
And there's nobody online.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing is closed. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 3-25 to rezone 777 Carmichael Road from AR Agricultural Residential to B2 General Business Faith Community Church.
So when the Faith Community Church was annexed into the city, it comes in under agricultural reserve, which is the closest zoning designation that we have to what the town of Hudson has. Faith Community Church has since indicated their desire to do some expansion in their parking lot and some of their congregation space. To facilitate that in terms of open space requirements, setbacks and the like, they're going to need to rezone to B2. Plan Commission has looked at this and recommends approval. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this. Should be fairly straightforward.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Roll call?
Morissette,
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Rook,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved. Rules are suspended.
Move to adopt ordinance 3-25.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adopt 3-25. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Mike? Consent agenda.
Approve the meeting minutes from the January 21st, 2025 regular council meeting. Approve the claims in the amount of $268,832.63. Approve the purchase of 2 mowers from Tri-State Bobcat in the amount of $40,421.33. Approve development expansion plans and certificate of compliance at 777 Carmichael Road, Faith Community Church. Approve the 2024 new housing fee report. Approve resolution to the retirement of K-9 officer badge. Approve the 2024 building inspector's annual report. And approve the proposal from INS Group Incorporated to provide preliminary design services for 2027 Locust Street reconstruction project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Roll call?
Morissette?
Yes.
Wakefield?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Rook?
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved. Consent agenda is approved. Discussion and possible action on short-term rental review process.
Thank you. I don't know that we need to belabor this too much more, as we've talked about at the last 2 meetings, in some detail. And last meeting, obviously, we heard from Mr. Todd Streeter from Community Collaboration about a process, a public engagement process. I know there's probably questions about, cost. I think we narrowed that down. His proposals for $3,000 to go through what was approximately 5 public engagement sessions. The question of whether we can handle this internally and the bandwidth of myself and my staff to kind of take this on. Yes, we can do it. It won't be as comprehensive and detailed as what Mr. Streeter proposed at the last meeting. It will take away most likely from some of the other activities that we have going on. I envision this would likely be myself, Tiffany Weiss, our city planner, and I think Brent offered to assist as well on kind of holding a more of a, for our public engagement process, more of a public hearing type thing. I've heard from some of you about the issues as you see them, in terms of, well, we can point them out, numbers of them, potentially, do we limit locations specifically? How do we, address enforcement issues? That was another main topic of discussion, at least from what I observed and what I'm hearing. So really, that's it. I'm just going to ask the council, what's your pleasure? If you want to move forward with what Todd provided, or if you prefer to handle it internally, we can certainly do that as well.
In the past, we used to have, staff would just say, yes, we'll do it, no problem.
Yep.
That's my question to you. I mean, you kind of said,
If the council says, yes, we can, I'll answer that question. Yes, we can do it, no problem.
but you would rather not.
No, when we went through when the moratorium went into place, I stood up here at this podium and said, I would bring forward a public engagement process proposal, and I wanted to follow through with that. I thought that was important. It was a good option to consider, and maybe still is if that's the council's pleasure. But if it's, hey, staff, let's get it done, then we'll get it done.
Is the purpose of the gathering of data to help write the ordinance, or just to get, to get feedback?
I think that was just for the feedback component. I think Mr. Streeter indicated, that staff, being staff and then legal, we would, compile that information, look at some additional examples of ordinances elsewhere, understanding that it's not one size fits all. Every community's got some different dynamics about, where and how and, what goes on. But the intent on that was always to be that staff would be responsible for updating the ordinance and drafting the ordinance and having it reviewed by legal, and then bringing it forward to the council. And we've already made a couple updates to the ordinance a few months ago. So this is something that we've been looking at and researching on and off over the past few months.
So kind of like every other process and ordinance that have come through city staff, this is the same type of thing.
Yeah, it's not dissimilar.
Yeah. So
Would a public hearing be, I don't know that, but have we not gotten feedback from?
We've had some feedback, and I know that, there's been, council members have heard from constituents about, concerns, or we've had different complaints over time, which kind of, helped lead to the moratorium. Also, we had to make some updates as the state statute changed not too long ago. So the interesting thing with this one is it doesn't follow, it's not in zoning code, right? So in zoning code amendments, it requires a public hearing and plan commission review and those types of things. This one doesn't, because it's not in zoning code. It's just a standard ordinance amendment. So
it doesn't, but we can require you to have a public engagement, just like we do for
Absolutely.
any review of like the Higgins Street Bridge, for example.
that would be the same type of process we would go through, correct?
I'd like to hear from Councilmember Brooke. I'll wait.
Okay. So I certainly don't think this is unique to Hudson. I think this is something you see across not only the United States, but in countries that are where there's popular destinations. And we are so fortunate to be a popular spot that people want to visit. And I certainly understand why people want to be here. The thing is, I hear what you have mentioned, both of Lynn and Randy, and some of our ordinances are less contentious than other ones. I think we know that there's been a track record with this one being more contentious. And so sometimes having an outside party that can come in and help facilitate that and listen to both perspectives or all the perspectives that are out there, it could be a nice way to neutralize the situation and to get that feedback. That being said, I also think our staff are incredibly capable, so I don't think there's any question of capability at all. I think it's more of a capacity issue and wanting to do this right. And sometimes when there is greater engagement, the folks that came to the table and delivered their feedback and their suggestions, they know that they were heard and that there was compromise that came from both sides. So I can really understand both sides of the perspectives. And I think, Mike, you mentioned that we had done some revisions in the last couple months. In my mind, the last revision I remember was maybe a year, it wasn't last summer, but the summer before. So
We did, Nick, help me with this one.
Wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah, we had to change the duration.
okay,
for compliance.
when we did the moratorium in June. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a particularly substantive change. It was
Right.
just a matter of aligning the dates with the statute.
Great. So and I guess I'd like some data that would be helpful. From a staffing perspective, how long would this take you, and roughly what would that cost? And if legal counsel has to be part of that, I just would like to know, if we're talking $3,000, and what would that translate? How many hours for you, Tiffany, and Nick?
I guess it's going to depend on how much participation we're able to solicit. I envision maybe, using a free online survey type tool or a very low cost thing like that we can cover in our budget, as well as, a couple, maybe an open house and a public hearing with Plan Commission. But it really comes into, how much feedback do we receive? And if it's little to nothing, then it's de minimis, right?
Yep.
And if it's all of a sudden we're filling the council chambers and people are really excited about the issue and the topic and have a lot of different ideas, well, then now we're going in a whole, down a whole nother rabbit hole where it's, this takes longer and costs more in terms of staff time and resource, right? Realistically, from a, length, a duration, 3 months, I would say, 2 months, 3 months.
Do you think it's going to cost taxpayers $3,000 of your time and your staff time and the attorney's time?
Well, certainly Nick's time, but I was going to spend that anyways. No, I'm just kidding. The reality is he was going to be helping review and draft the ordinance anyways. That was going to be something that we need to make sure that whatever we put together was appropriate. So it's taking Nick's time, and legal review, which we were going to have anyways.
But that would be the general course of business.
It is. It would be. It's just shifting. It's just reallocating kind of what we're working on at a certain time.
I think that the bigger issue is that it takes up time of Mike and his team, right?
Right.
And so if they're working on this project, then they're not working on something else. You see the number of development projects that come through, that's what they work on. And so, the cost is a cost. It's just a matter of, do you want to prioritize it with your staff, or would you prefer your staff working on other projects that they have on the table? And it's not, from my perspective anyway, I don't know that it's really a matter of dollars and cents. It's more a matter of, what do you want to prioritize with your team internally versus what do you want to outsource to somebody else to facilitate a process?
And I would say, even if we went with the proposal, we would still staff those meetings because we would want to be actively involved in understanding of what's going on too.
So you still staff time.
Thank you.
Joy?
Yes, thank you. Well, I do appreciate that having a third party, outside a vendor to handle this does, provide sort of a neutral base for people to come to and share their experiences. I know our staff is very talented, but even just writing a survey that's not slanted or leaning, to have balanced questions, et cetera, is an art form. It's a skill that would be important to do, to do it properly, so we try to get a good sampling. I do have some concern, like you said, Mike, when we put this moratorium in last year, that you said we need community engagement and that has been a focus. I think we have to be careful to know that if, let's say we have an outpouring of people who rally and come in and say, yes, everybody should have the right to have a short-term rental in their home, we're still going to have to make that decision. How, we can't, I hesitate that we go down a path that says, well, this is what the public wants and we have to do it. Because I still think we have to make those hard decisions. That's why we're in these chairs. And to weigh it and look at it because, some people have opinions and they'll speak up when there's a problem. And maybe later it slips through the crack, but they still care about it. Other people are very more motivated, tied in. And I do think, I appreciate the chance to talk about this again together because I think we are going to be the ones that choose. We're going to have our professional staff with legal consultation make any changes, tweaks to the ordinance that we already have. But it comes down to us as elected officials really to, no matter what the public says, it's good to have their input. We're still going to have to apply some decision making to it. And so I just want to put that caution out there that I don't think that we should just assume that whatever we get as these results is going to dictate our outcome, because I think it's still going to need to be thoughtfully applied. I know of one community vacation sort of destination area in Florida where the council, they'd had a city ordinance. They had a citywide referendum. It was voted, approved. The council approved it, and then there was a lawsuit that flipped the whole thing on its head, in terms of who could have a short-term rental and who could not. And it's very complicated. It's a difficult area, and again, it does seem like a reasonable fee for the services that would be rendered. So I do appreciate that fact, and I think having the third party doing it is probably helpful. So, thank you.
Does anybody recall the time frame of that, what his was comparatively to 3 months?
I think it was about the same time frame.
3
Yep,
months.
it was.
Excuse me.
So, we're still gonna have to write the ordinance. We are. And I think if we hire this outside, here's my read of it. We're willing to put $3,000 on the table, and we can, if that works for us, we're gonna get some nice feedback from all groups. We're gonna get, 5 meetings worth of people's commitment and give us some real good insight and different things we haven't thought about. And it'll be nice, organized information, and so when we roll up our sleeves to work on this, we're gonna have some nice information to draw on. That's the good thing. Or, I know this gentleman had very well rounded in these types of things, but he hasn't worked on this particular subject. Right. And it's, to me, again, I could be wrong here, but it seemed like a very specific subject, this ordinance. And it almost seemed like overkill. We're gonna have 5 meetings, and I hope we have citizens that are that invested, that are gonna come to the meetings when it's snowing and cold, and now this is our 4th meeting, going on the 5th meeting. And if that doesn't happen, we're gonna kind of be right back here. We spent the money, we have some ideas that some people want parking on the street, some people don't, for example, but we're still gonna be here, and we're gonna have to start on the first page, starting to write that. So I'll admit I'm kind of stuck on that. If that $3,000 gets us this juicy info that we need, and then we can file it, and it just kind of comes together naturally, that's great. But we could also sit here and say, where do we start? So that's my concern, that I don't know if we're going to have the investment from the community and that many people that are going to commit to that time and give us feedback that's worth the money and the time spent on that. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that.
And people on all sides of the issues that are willing to commit that much time, so it doesn't end up being
Just a one side, yeah.
a one-sided.
Move to approve our city staff coordinating a public hearing with respect to the short-term rental ordinance and bringing forward a draft or an updated ordinance to us no later than May 1.
So, I'm sorry, what?
So I'm moving to do a public hearing directed by city staff
Okay,
on the topic of the short-term rental ordinance
okay.
and wanting an updated ordinance back to this body here by May 1, or the first meeting in May.
Okay. Everybody understand the motion?
So that's in-house. all done
I
in-house.
have moved to do it in-house.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 5-25 approving a petition for direct annexation by unanimous approval for the town of Hudson, to the city of Hudson annexing parcel 020-1098-60-999, petitioned by MLBRJK Properties.
I don't know that I'll be able to sit down tonight. Obviously, we've talked about this preliminarily with the pre-annexation agreement.
There's a lot of items.
This is the old Park and Ride property on Old 35. It's that kind of one last little remaining little nubbin of little over an acre and a half of property that still remains in the town on the west side of the town of Hudson and the west side of Old 35 north of Hanley. The owner of the property is desirous of constructing a multifamily project or developing a multifamily project. Every time we do these annexations or annexation agreements, I want to be consistent and say by no means does this approve any project. It's basically, here's the concept. We need something that they want or are looking to do. And then we conduct our capital cost study and budget study, which are included as attachments to the annexation agreement. The capital cost study shows, okay, if I want to develop X number of units, these are the types of improvements that will need to have happen. That includes transportation and roadways. And this one you see like a dedicated turn lane and some kind of shifting of traffic and striping. You'll see sanitary sewer connection. You'll see water service, stormwater provisions. Those are all at the cost, and in the agreement, they're at the cost, the sole cost of the developer to pay for. Under our administration or under our review and approval, this agreement basically sets those obligations or puts those obligations into place and also commits the owner or the developer to pay for those required improvements based on what they want to do. Again, understanding that in the future, the developer will have to come forward with development plan reviews, zoning approvals, all of those different things. So with that, if there are any questions on the annexation agreement, I'm happy to answer those.
Anybody?
I'll move we approve the annexation agreement.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. I guess we're into updates, right? Department updates?
No, we have the
No,
annexation
no,
ordinance.
There's another one.
This is B.
What did I miss?
That was
It's the same thing.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 5-25 approving a petition for direct annexation by unanimous approval for the town of Hudson to the city of Hudson annexing parcel 020-1098-60-999, petitioned by MLBRJK Properties.
And again, this is the ordinance that would facilitate the actual annexation of the old 35 property, that the unanimous consent annexation of 5 some acres, over a little over acre and a half. So this is the ordinance that effectuates that.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion and second to suspend the rules. Roll call.
Morissette,
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Ruck,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Motion's approved. The rules are suspended.
Move to adopt 5-25.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Kip, utility update. Boy, we've been waiting for this for a while.
I missed that. What's that?
I said, we've been waiting for this for a while.
There's not much on there. So, Kip Peters, Utility Director. Just some updates on kind of where we're at on some of our projects that we are working through this winter, preparing for spring. Our 11th Street project, which we're all familiar with, is going to be done this year. We do have some work on there. We will be putting some slip lining in. The bids are opened for that project. We'll be opening them on February 5th. So that'll be going to the PUC for approval on that. New water main will be installed on that project from Summer to Laurel. On our Livingston Road addition, the development plans have been submitted to the city plan review on February 14th. Or January 14th, sorry, they were submitted. Assuming we receive approval from that, we'll then submit for final development approval in February for the March 4th Planning Commission, so that'll go for final approval in March and likely be on Common Council agenda for the late March, early April meeting for final approvals. And our Deer Path Tower project in the village, bids were opened on January 30th. And we're just waiting on the bid results and tab results for that, and then that'll go to PUC for approval on that too. So that's my update.
Thanks, Kip. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, Community Development.
Yeah, obviously, we've been busy. So, obviously, we have the old 35 park and ride, which we just discussed, getting that through the process with that. We're also in ongoing conversations on a potential annexation on the south side of Tower Road, the Windmill Hollow project. That one is much larger, over 100 acres, but also has a lot of other challenges associated with it, mostly some potential or some choke points in our wastewater distribution system. We do have enough capacity at the plant, without a doubt, but there are some pinch points further downstream that come into play as we look at developing or annexing additional territories, especially as we look south. So Kip and I are actively working on that, trying to figure out how to do that. Obviously, if one development comes in, they aren't responsible for solving all of those issues, a proportionate share. How do we address that? Is it deferred assessments, which I am not crazy about? They're unwieldy and become issues in 20 years when you have annexations that go further. So that's a big one that's been kind of ongoing. Obviously, the coffee shop, the new Starbucks over in Bella Rose was approved at the last meeting. The Cantor Crossing development, which is the old Foster horse farm up off of Stage Line, kind of just north of Heritage Green. That one is moving forward through Plan Commission right now. Obviously working with both, Kip, Mike, and Jeff on their facility improvements, everything that's going on with those, which are obviously fairly involved. We did, the Board of Appeals met in January and upheld the council's decision on the denial of the certificate of compliance for the car wash site over on Crestview. Faith Community Church, the Summer Street topic that we covered last meeting, the neighborhood meetings, those are always ongoing with different projects. Anytime anybody wants to do a conditional use permit or a rezoning or anything downtown, neighborhood meetings are always required. So I know my staff is definitely very busy with making sure that all the mailings get out on that and the mailing lists are provided, and we can answer any questions as they come up. We have some, at the last council meeting, we introduced the resolution on two different right-of-way vacation requests. Those will be moving forward with a public hearing, I believe, on March 3rd or 4th. And those will be of interest. I'll let David talk about building inspections if he wants to. GIS is busy helping with all sorts of different mapping efforts with utilities and and fire and all the things. Response times, that's one thing that Nick's been working on quite a bit, is making sure that we have mapped out all of our response times for both the city and for our neighboring jurisdictions, which is a positive. And I'm also happy to say that I believe January was our highest ridership in the transit system. We're almost to 1,000 riders, which was the goal monthly. So that's a huge deal. We did, with the help with Emily in my office and Sam, our finance director, working on the reporting and getting all of that stuff in, has been huge, just because it's our first time doing the annual reporting and some of that. Also want to thank the city of New Richmond for assisting us in that first go-round, just because we didn't really know exactly what we're getting into as we segued away from our engagement with the Regional Planning Commission to handling it internally. So a big thanks to both Sam and Emily for taking that on. Yeah, so that's what I have. If there are any questions, and then I'll turn it over to David.
Anybody? All right, saving them all for David.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Good evening. Not exactly sure what details you want me to highlight on, but just pulling some numbers from my annual report. 2024, we had 378 building permits issued, keeping in mind that we issue one permit per project. So that 378 number also includes plumbing permits, HVAC permits, electrical permits. So if we issued those individually, that number would be quite a bit higher. We issued about $74 million in construction in 2024. And we had total inspections of 1,742. Project-wise, residentially, we only had 14 new homes this year, 5 of which involved a tear down. So only 9 net new dwellings in 2024. Commercial, we had 3 new commercial construction projects, one being the Festival Foods, one being the Riverfront Square project on Buckeye and First Street, and then the third is Bright Star Care, which is on Jack Bro Drive. Towards the end of the year, we started two school projects, one being EP Rock Elementary alterations, and then one being the Hudson Middle School alterations and the school district office addition. Coming up in 2025, we expect a little rebound in multifamily, kind of picking up where Mike left off. We're going to probably start at least two new apartment buildings in 2025. And many others. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Anybody?
You forgot Papa John's open.
Papa John's open. And not by Christmas time like I promised.
Andy's favorite.
All right, thanks, David.
Yep.
Library, Shelley. Want to tell us about that first?
The hobble? Well, there's a cover story and it involves training for a marathon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll tell you the truth privately, but. So 2024 annual summary, our first year as a municipal library was excellent year for us. Just a reminder that we serve the same communities. That's the city of Hudson, the village of North Hudson, and the towns of Hudson, St. Joe, and Troy. Visits are up about 20%. Physical and digital circulation are both up. One of the big developments, and we're really proud of, is the attendance at programs is almost doubled. And that is thanks to the funding package that we have and the ability to add staff hours to do those programs. So we're very grateful for that. The Hudson Area Library Foundation every year has an annual appeal, raising money to pay for all of our programs, special projects, special collections, and this year also some money for target improvements related to building plans. They set a goal of $100,000, which is very, very large for us, and raised $110,000 in 8 weeks. So we're, I think that's a really positive signal from the community about appreciating and valuing the library. So all the numbers are here on this sheet, but I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Anybody?
That's great. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Shelley. All right, so a couple things. I see that we have our Hudson ambassadors in here tonight. And it's always great to see you here joining us. We'd love to have, do you have any comment? Is there anything you'd like to talk about?
Well, we're thankful for being here. Thank you so much.
Come on up.
Do you want to do this speaking? Okay, so we're the Hudson ambassadors. I'm Alexis Armano.
I'm Charlie Wenzel.
And I'm Evelyn Bakken. And thank you so much for having us here tonight. We're so thankful for doing a lot of our community service around Hudson. Some of our favorite events, one of my favorite events was definitely Booster Days. Our coordination is around that time, being able to help our community with bingo and being able to just be around everyone, children the most, you know, being able to like see their smiles on their faces and everything.
One of my favorite events, like locally, was definitely Tour of Homes, because I've always heard about it, but like getting to be able to like sit in one of the houses and just like decorate it all for Christmas, and it just like really brought home like the Christmas spirit, and like getting to see all like the people's reactions going through and answering questions. It was so cool to like get to interact in a different way with the community that I never had before. So it just made it really special.
Nice.
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I like all the events, definitely the parades, like the before and after of them all, seeing all like the little kids. They love seeing sparkly crowns and just seeing us, and it's always so fun because we're always all together. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for them?
Did you guys do the winter carnival? Sorry.
No.
Yes, we did. That was, what, 2 weeks ago?
1 week.
1 week ago.
1 week ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Will you be in the hot air affair parade?
Yes.
Good.
We will be volunteering for other events as well for Hot Air Fair.
Nice.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, we get to see you guys wherever, you know, I see you a lot. And it's great. You guys do a great job of representing our city, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Certainly
much.
support you. And
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here. All right, the only thing is that a reminder, March 11th, 2025 is the liquor and tobacco license information meeting. Becky, you want to talk about that at all? Or?
Yeah, so Randy, this kind of stemmed off of when you called, and we met, Brent and Drew, myself met, and we are sending out a letter this week to all of our licensed pollers, and we're having this meeting at the fire hall on March 11th, asking them to come in, and we're gonna have 2 special agents from the Department of Revenue here. We're gonna go over the renewal process and have them here for any questions and kind of reiterating how important the deadlines are and whatnot, so.
And Drew will be there to explain that they need to get registered, be able to go through the inspection process. So we're looking forward to it. I mean, Becky's kind of gathered a good group of people, and I think it's going to be important. We're setting out the invitations certified mail to everybody, liquor and tobacco. And that way we know they've responded. We also said in the letter that we'll take attendance at the meeting. I think it's good for all of them to show up and get information directly from the agents, the state agents that are responsible for this section of the statutes. So it's going to be a good meeting. I know Drew's going to be there, myself, Becky, and of course the state agents.
Yeah, no, thank you. This was predicated from the last issues we had that I followed up, and agreed to have public safety look at it, but they're.
And the renewal packets go out usually the middle of March, so it'll be right during that time frame. So its timing is perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
Anybody? Motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.